All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is a special interview that I am doing with one of my fellow Inner Circle members and Freedom and Wealth Seekers, as yours as well. I want to welcome to the platform Sharita Singleton. Sharita, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Excellent, excellent. Sharita, is someone else supposed to be joining us? I have a Noah Armin.
Yeah, yeah. Are they
Yeah,
getting
they're
in?
requesting. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
requesting to
that's
get
my
in.
partner. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna let them in. Is she gonna, well, he gonna put the camera on?
I don't know. I guess you gotta unmute to speak.
Let me see.
That's our the name of our
That's
company
nice.
together is Acquisitions.
Excellent. Hey,
Hello.
hi.
Hi.
Can you go live on video?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Hold on, let me
I like that
switch my.
logo.
Thank you. I'm trying to turn it to myself. Hold on.
All right.
Um, okay. I think I figured it out. Hello.
Perfect. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for
Good.
asking. So,
Thank you for
so
having us.
absolutely. I'm excited for you. Uh, what's your last name, Margaret?
Irvin. Margaret
Margaret
Irvin.
Margaret Irvin, ladies and gentlemen, meet
Yes.
Margaret Irvin, the other half of
Mhm.
Lions Gate. Is it Lions Gate?
That is
Yes.
correct.
Lionsgate
Mm-hmm.
Acquisitions. So I want to start with Sharita, your backstory. Like we met a few years ago at one of my boot camps.
Mm-hmm.
You got into wholesaling. Margaret, I'm gonna mute you because I'm getting some feedback from your end. You got in the wholesaling, and then we jumped into local government foreclosures, and you successfully purchased some local government foreclosures for a few $100. Am I right?
Yep. I still have the one on East Hoffman.
Yes.
Is like, when things happen, it start happening, and then you get busy and you gotta focus. I'm not that great at multitasking, so I
Mhm.
focus on completing things one at a time, so it'll be right. That's how I just do things. So anyway, I remember we had a one-on-one, and you were saying we was talking about getting an investment rental property. You know what I'm saying? And I
Yes.
think I had spoken to you about we had decided to form a company together, and we started looking for multi-unit properties. And I told you about the Houston property that we were trying to get.
It was a multifamily in Houston. That deal fell apart, right?
Yeah, it fell apart because they had some title issues, and it was like
Okay.
we had been tied up in that for so long that we decided to say, walk away from it. It was just too much.
Okay. Okay. Now, what made you go into the Houston marketplace, Houston, Texas?
She can answer that.
All right.
That's her thing. She's familiar with Texas.
Is Margaret in Houston?
I
No.
no, I'm here in Maryland,
Okay.
but I am a Texas native. And so what made us choose Houston was the ease of access in the market there.
Wow.
Less it didn't cost us as much as it would have here in the DMV market.
Mhm.
And so we choose to make our jobs easier, we choose the path of least resistance.
Absolutely. That's a very smart strategy, finding a market outside of your main market if it's especially if it's a metropolitan area where there is increase in values. Sometimes you see a lot of increase in rent. So I want to ask you about the Houston market because we have another member and most likely future members that live in the Houston market. Um, what ward was that property in? Do you know what part of Houston? Because Houston's a, I'm hearing it's a big
Yeah, I
market.
know it's what we cause I moved here from Houston, and so it's what we consider the Southwest area. I don't know if a particular ward it falls
Right.
in a particular ward, but it's off of Westheimer, if that means anything. If they're in Houston, then they know exactly what I'm talking about.
Gotcha.
Um, and so it's the southwestern region. It's close to the energy corridor, so location was good. And then Westheimer is like a big deal because it's accessible to. It has everything,
Okay.
from grocery stores to Walmarts and stuff like that. So location was a factor, and then price
Right.
was a factor. This was a 4 unit property under three hundred
Mhm.
thousand dollars. We got it for 300 under $300,000, and it was fully rented.
Oh
Like,
wow.
it was the perfect deal. It just,
Wow.
the time frame, like we had been tied up in that for at least 6 months.
Amazing. How much were the rents for each unit? Do you recall?
There were a couple that were about $900, and then the other about 750
Wow.
per unit. Yeah, because some people had been there for years.
Yes. Wow. So it was already cash flowing.
Yes.
That's amazing. The Texas market, especially Houston, Sharita, y'all may want to look into this, but I was attracted to it when I saw the tax deed um returns where you could actually become the owner. You will get, I believe it's partial ownership. I have to look at the rules for Houston because every city, every county across the country has different rules, but you become partial owner until the entire redemption period expires for that owner. And then with the partial ownership, you can still collect rent. That's what was very eye-opening to me. Like, you can collect rent if that owner has a smaller percentage of ownership. And it all depends on the county. The other thing I liked about it, there's like, I believe it's a 2-year redemption period, but there's a huge penalty, and then they can end up owing you up to 75% on what you initially invested. So it's huge upside potential. The longer they delay paying you back the property taxes you loan to that municipality, the more interest and penalties you'll receive on your money. So I always tell folks there's always going to be property owners that go into tax default, and we call these local government foreclosures. So you guys hit that first roadblock down in Houston, but that didn't stop you. This latest acquisition did that take place in Houston too?
No, it took place, it's in Baltimore.
Oh, nice. Now, would it happen to be a 4 unit? Because we
It
just
is
missed a
not.
4 unit. Okay.
It is not a 4 unit. It's a single family, I guess row home,
Okay.
townhome. It depends on who you talk to. Um,
Gotcha.
and it is empty. It is not cash flowing yet.
Right. What part of town is that in?
It's
It's near.
Patterson Park, near Patterson Park. It's off the 200 block of Patterson Park. Our block. What's weird is that we're like a block away from where it actually developing. Our block
Right.
is developing as well. I mean, because there's a house across the street that I don't know if they're really going to sell it for that much. It was nice on the inside because we was able to see it because Margaret is a real estate agent, so we were able to
Gotcha.
get access to see the work they did on the house. So they want $320,000 for it.
Is it near
It's
the
really
park?
nice. It's not far. You can actually walk to it from us because we're on the
Oh yeah.
200 block, and
That's
you
prime real
know,
estate.
right. So I mean, the closer you get to the park, the more you're getting in the 200,000 and the $300,000 houses. So we
So
feel like
we
we did we felt like we did good by purchasing this property.
Absolutely. I tell folks all the time, like, as long as you buy a house and wait, like a lot of people, they come up with these excuses or these limited beliefs. They like, oh, it's not the right time. We're about to head into a recession,
Yeah.
or it's not the right time. Prices are too high. No, real estate is a long-term investment. So
Hmm.
you buying this property for whatever you pay for it, 9 times out of 10, it's going to appreciate. But the other side of that is you got to look at it. And this is just my model and how I teach people to buy real estate. You got to look at it from the next 5 years from now, the next 10 years from now, going out to the next 15 and 20 years. What happens is these properties, the rents, if you decide to rent it, you'll be able to increase the rent over time. Okay. That
Hmm.
rent is going to go higher, right? And you're going to be able to take advantage of tax breaks by depreciating that asset. But at the end of
Hmm.
it all, right? If you decide 20 years down the road you want to refinance or sell, you're going to have a boatload of equity built in. Not to mention, you bought the house this year. In 30 years, the house will be paid off. So in 20 years, look at all the equity you built back into the property.
Hmm.
Not to mention the equity that's going to be, you know, forced over time. It's just going to be building over time. So you got the equity from the purchase price, and then the equity that's going to build over time as that neighborhood and community continues to
Yep.
redevelop. So
Absolutely.
it's a can't lose, and wholesaling is attractive, buy fixing and flipping is attractive, but I believe, just from my experiences and my mistakes, that buy and holding is one of the best strategies to build, that you could be using to build sustainable, transformational, and generational wealth. And when I say transformational, the wealth, maybe your family didn't come from wealth or you didn't have wealth before you got into real estate, but in 10 years, guess what happened? You built equity and you built appreciation. You've added to your wealth portfolio and
Yep.
cash flow portfolio. So how did you come across this property, Margaret? Did you find this property on a multiple listing service or?
I did. I so when I'm looking for properties, I cast a very wide net, right?
Mm, okay.
And so I do what my consumers do, my clients do. I go to Google
Hmm.
and I specify an area, a wide area, PG County, which is where we live,
Yes.
and I get all of the listings. The benefit that I have as a realtor is once I get it access, once I see an address that I'm interested in, I can go to MLS. I can go to all of the platforms that we use as realtors to find out the skinny, you know, of
Yeah.
the property,
Yep.
right? And so um I'm not familiar with Baltimore, but Rita is.
Hmm.
And because she is familiar with the areas and the development of those areas, I relied solely on her expertise in saying, okay, yeah, this area is by because I'm a realtor and I know location matters and what it's near. I'm also an investor prior to this particular deal. I I'm aware that location matters and what it's near is just as important as what the property looks like. And
Yes.
so when she started to describe the area and the zip code, and then after we had already gone under contract, the houses that came on the market after us in our zip code were substantially higher, which
Mm,
lets us know that we already go in with equity.
absolutely.
And so I was, we had a kind of a difference of which properties we should get, which were very near, but different zip codes, right? They were
Yes.
very near, but different zip codes. And, you know, I think that a big piece for us was I like turnkey properties, right? And so does Rita.
Hmm.
And she, I'm willing to do a little work, or she's not really willing to do much,
I
right?
Okay.
wanted to go straight in and be able to rent it out with
Okay.
less, because the issue we had with this house, I mean, it took convincing for me to go with it. She
Okay.
loved it. She saw its potential. I saw a little bit, but I didn't like the way that that thing that some owners do. You could tell what they did. They got it off the auction for a certain price. I think it was like 105,000, looking at the
Hmm.
history.
Hmm.
And what they tried to do was like going and as it was a book that I read, they tried to put lipstick on a pig type deal,
Yeah. Yeah.
paint, change the fixtures, and then
Right.
sell it. And they didn't do the maximum amount of work. And some of the work I saw, it wasn't appealing to me, being somebody that worked in construction, and I know a
Yeah.
little bit about some of that stuff. And it was like I feel like they're getting over a little bit, but
Gotcha.
we still figured it out, and came to an agreement that this would be great to just do the little bit of work, um make it good enough for somebody to come in and live. And they we were going to walk away, but they turned around and asked us, because it was an as is house.
Right.
So when we said, well, we're walking away, they was like, well, what would make you, what could we do to have you stay in the contract or whatever, not
Right.
walk
Right.
away.
Right. Oh
So
wow.
I mean, we did a little negotiation, and we had a little bit of trouble. It was kind of a horror story with the loan officer. I mean, she was really giving us a hard time with the
Okay.
with closing, but we got through that, and we closed on October 17th.
Excellent. So what type of properties is it? Is it a 2-story, 3-story? How many bedrooms, bathrooms?
So it's a three-story property. Now,
Oh
I need
wow.
you to understand that it has, for Baltimore, it has 1,700 square feet,
Yes.
right? It's a two-bedroom property with a bathroom inside of, I wouldn't call it the primary bedroom because it's smaller than the actual bedroom that I consider primary, but it
Gotcha.
has a bathroom in the bedroom, right?
So you
And
have
then there's,
you have a bedroom on the third floor?
I have two
Mhm.
bedrooms on the third floor.
Okay, and what's on the second floor?
The main floor is the living area, the kitchen, and an additional half bathroom. And then on
Okay.
the bottom floor, it's another room that we can't consider it a bedroom because it doesn't have a closet or a window, but it could be considered an office space, a flexible space, basement space, right? And
Right.
with
Okay.
the potential to expand back into the storage space.
So
So,
that's what my question was, like, to get understanding of the type of, I'm familiar with that neighborhood. So it's really 2 stories, 2 stories above ground
yes,
Okay.
instead of three. So let
yes.
me ask you, does your basement have a walkout to the backyard? Can you get to the backyard from that basement?
You
At
can,
one
yes.
time, it was like, because they built a garage, a closed-in garage, but it's not. They didn't use it as a garage. They closed it in, so it's like extra
Oh,
storage.
but you can get
At
out.
one time you could, but they blocked it off. They blocked that section off.
So
Like, is a door there, but they put a board in front of it.
do you have pretty high ceiling height in the basement?
Mm, I
Or is
mean,
it
for
like,
me, I can walk. I'm short, so I can walk in
right?
there with no problem. But for a
If you
taller person,
like 7.5 feet, maybe? Do you know?
um, it
Maybe
might
at
be,
least six and a half. At least
maybe,
six and a
yeah.
half, seven.
You might have enough headroom down there to to frame out a bedroom down there. But for doing a closet, as long, and you don't have to have a window, as long as you have a door in that bedroom that leads outside of the house. So
Okay.
now that gives you 3 bedrooms in the
Mhm.
Yes.
house. So I would check
Yes.
that because um Sharita knows, like, my rule of thumb is, especially in Baltimore, especially as we go into tough economic times, like a potential recession where people are going to lose jobs, to have a Section 8 tenant in that property
Mhm.
only. And that's guaranteed rent. Now, your 2 bedrooms, add a ceiling fan in each bedroom. That gives you an extra $20 to your lease amount. That Section 8 will pay you. And definitely try to get another bedroom in that basement as long as there's enough headroom after you put up drywall, and that you have to build out. So they block that garage off. You just insulate that and build a door, exterior door leading outside, and then you guys have a third bedroom. Now that increases your rent maybe $200-300.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You maximize that rent.
That's a good
So
idea. We was also
yeah,
looking at, because of the garage, like, so with a garage that there's steps that goes up to the top of it. We was thinking about, well, not thinking about, we're gonna put a deck on top of that. Does that make sense?
not really, because you're renting it out.
Mm-hmm.
I would save that for a later date when you plan on selling, because let's just say a family move. If you add another bedroom in the basement, and I want you all to
Mm-hmm.
know this too, like I've rented out houses Section 8 since the early 2000s, and tenants, they move their family in. So somebody's going to occupy the basement, whether it's finished or not.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, whether the house is finished or not, somebody's moving somebody in that basement, right? At some point in time,
Mm-hmm.
it's just going to happen. The the other thing, the other thing is that you got to think about is that if a family moves and they have small children, somebody gets out there on the deck, it's
Okay.
on top of a
Uh-huh.
garage, it's a liability now. They get
Okay.
injured. They could get injured. So you don't want
Mm-hmm.
to give them any uh potential bad scenarios where a kid can climb over the steps and get onto the roof, and you want to keep it safe as possible.
So should we gate that off or something? Because it's just stairs that take you to the top of the roof of the garage, and
Yeah, you
is a fence around it.
yeah, you can take the stairs away.
Okay.
Keep the fence around it, but take the stairs away so nobody will ever go up there.
Okay.
Yeah. I would definitely add the bedroom in the basement if you can get the ceiling height. Um, we haven't got any like torrential rains lately, so if you are planning on finishing the basement, I recommend waterproofing the basement.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone does move down there, it's never a call like, "Hey, the basement's flooding."
Mm-hmm.
You took care of it. Now you guys are close to the inner harbor. Sometimes that area takes in a lot of water. Historically, since I've lived in Baltimore, I've never seen that side of Patterson Park go under, but you just never know. You just never know. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure y'all are outside of the flood zone, so that's a plus. Um, but the rent, just as a 2 bedroom, that area, I think you're already over 1,700 a month in
Okay.
in,
That
in
sounds
rent,
good.
just for just for a 2 bedroom house down that way.
Mm-hmm.
So rents are pretty strong over in that area. So you you'll you'll definitely be in the 1800-1900 range if you add a third bedroom. And I could be a little off. Um, they go off of their own census tract, so whatever other property Section 8 in that area are going for, and whatever comparable sales you can supply them with, that's going to help your case. And the market rents in that neighborhood are over $2,000
Yeah, I think
for a
I've seen that.
house. Yeah.
Wow.
So imagine what that market rent is going to be like, and that Section 8 rent is going to be like. Like I know 10 years ago, a 2 bedroom in East Baltimore, 900 to $1,000, like 850 to 1,000.
Mm.
Now it's shot up to like 1,600, 1,700, right? So in certain neighborhoods, not in all neighborhoods, but in certain neighborhoods. Now imagine what that rent is going to look like 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and you bought that property for X amount of dollars. That's where you create that transformational generational wealth. What other repairs need to be done there?
Well, unfortunately, the after we closed, the furnace stopped working. I don't know what they did with it, but it was supposed to. That was one of the things they needed to fix. But they gave us a they threw in a home warranty.
Yes.
So that's what we're getting done. But after that, everything is pretty much squared away, except for one of the windows have to be replaced because I guess before they put security gates on the first floor, they nailed the window shut.
Yeah.
So I pretty much figure that's not going to pass inspection. So
Right.
we're trying to get all those things done. They claimed that they had put a new furnace in, but what they did was they put a new air conditioning unit outside, but the furnace wasn't any good. So we're having that looked at tomorrow. Hopefully, they could either go ahead and get it replaced as soon as possible because we're trying to get all this done, inspected and stuff like that, and start looking for a tenant, preferably before the middle of December. I don't know how much of a need or how bad people are looking for apartments right now, but yeah, I took your advice and we're going to put it on Section 8. What is it? GoSection8.com.
Go section8.com. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now,
So
the other thing that you all need to know is that the uh, the inspections is very rare that you pass the first inspection. That's
okay.
very rare that you pass the first inspection. So don't be surprised if you fail the first inspection. Okay.
Okay.
If that's when you're going Section 8 or any other government subsidized program, they find something. It could be the smallest thing like a doorknob loose or the carpet's not secure, the window's not operating correctly, and you have to
Hmm.
call them back out. That's just the nature of the business. But that would be my recommendation. A lot of people are doing Airbnb in that area too. I'm not an Airbnb expert. People make it
She
look and
is.
sound so easy. So, I actually have a family member that has a Airbnb on that same exact street, and and she does fairly well. She's in
Oh,
California.
wow.
She's in
Oh, good.
California.
Nice.
She actually paid $150,000 for her property, and I was like blown away. Like, you're paying that much? We're buying those houses around there for 35,000, 5,000. She said yes, but I'm not doing what you're doing. I'm gonna be renting this out to the traveling nurses. Okay.
Yeah.
And
That's what we've been looking at too, but go ahead.
she's been doing well with Airbnb. She
Okay.
has been kicking butt with it. She ain't called me complaining like I need to sell my house. It's going on 3 years now, 4 years. Airbnb. And she's
Consistently.
consistent, living out Cali, and it's all in what your lifestyle is. So her lifestyle, and she lives off the grid. So she opened my eyes up to this whole new way of life in America, where there's a community of people that travel. They buy these conversion vans and
Yeah.
they deck them out and they make them like apartments on wheels, and they travel all around the country and meet up, and they live together off the grid, but they own property.
Hmm.
That's where they're getting their income from. They own So these people that you are hearing that are off the grid, they may not own a primary residence, but they're buying rental property so they could travel the country on wheels and live out of their vans. So it's real unique concept. I wanted to share that with you because that's a prime location. People from all over the country are buying property. A lot of people from the West Coast are actually buying property in that neighborhood. So that's an excellent investment you guys made. Let me look at my questions I have for tonight. Um, so what I want to ask y'all, and I know you talked about this a little bit, but as far as managing the property, are you gonna hire somebody, or are you gonna? I mean, what direction are you guys gonna go in? Like, because if you do Airbnb, you're gonna have your hand in it at some point, unless you outsource. But what is the plan for the property?
So, my company separate from Lionsgate is Noah Armand, and
Hmm.
Noah Armand is a property management company, right?
Yeah.
And so I will be managing the property, getting it rented, acquire, taking the monthly rents in, making sure the maintenance is maintained.
Hmm.
And I do this everywhere. I've had up to at one time Airbnbs.
Oh, wow.
I had one in Chicago, North Carolina, had several in Houston, and
Amazing.
even here in DC. And so like your cousin, I'm managing my house. I'm a school
Right,
teacher,
right,
right?
right.
And so that's where we are. That's what we're going to be doing. I'm going to be managing my company is going to be managing that property, screening tenants, like because I already have those things in place.
Excellent. Excellent.
And
Excellent.
it keeps the money in house.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. So once you guys get this property up and running, are you going to be looking to expand and buy more properties?
We already look.
Absolutely. We already are.
Nice.
So we bounced a bunch of ideas of how to do that. So I mean, in the beginning, well, when we didn't get the Houston property, we had to figure out, more working on our business credit, and how, getting capital and stuff like that, whether it was from outside investors or
Yes.
um some type of funding to get us off the ground and do XYZ. So I started looking back into the 203K or 203B
Hmm.
rehab loan. So I
Okay.
attended a seminar for that, and I was like, well, that makes a lot of sense because if I get pre-approved, which I did today, I believe, the loan officer or loan originator, she's working on getting me a pre-approval letter so that we can go ahead and start looking for another property. We've been
Yes.
doing funding our stuff, out of our own pockets. So
Got you.
now it's like, okay, well, we're thin. We're kind
Got
of
you.
stretched. So we looked at Lima One and stuff like that, but we're going to probably use them in the future. But now with the 203K, we can get a property, rehab it, but we're looking for a 4U so
Got you.
that, the if it's pre already rented out, the rents will help us. How is it, Maggie? What was that other thing that we would do? The renters would kind of like back you on being able to I can't
So
ensure that you would be able to pay the loan. Is that,
yeah, so
Yeah.
am I
basically they
saying it
would
right?
consider the rental income as, or cap rates, I guess, as a part of our income for qualifying for the property, right?
Right.
Got you.
So those are some of the options because we're having to be really creative
Hmm.
with how we acquire these properties and how we, to maximize our dollar, and then to be able to do this again and again and again and again until we have as many as we need to. And our goal
Got
is
you.
to become our own bank,
Right.
to not have
Exactly.
to use
Amazing.
anyone else.
So
Amazing.
basically, with the 203 for me, because my primary residence is I bought my house conventional.
Right.
So I'm not FHA. You have to be FHA in order to get the 203. So now after a year, I can refinance out of it, put it in our company name, and wash, rinse, and repeat. you know,
Gotcha.
because it's no longer it's we would refinance it into a conventional loan, which would take me out of being FHA.
Amazing. There's some great information y'all are sharing on this interview. I really appreciate the nuggets that you're dropping. Um, are you guys gonna stick in the Baltimore market? Are you gonna go back to Houston and look for opportunities?
We're
What's your
going
game
where the
plan for that?
opportunities are.
You're right.
We're
Gotcha.
going where the opportunities are. So Texas definitely because beyond the 4 unit, we're looking to acquire land so that we can develop.
Hmm.
Because I just in my head and thoughts about things, I think it's cheaper than going out and buying a property that's already there.
Yeah,
So in this case, reinventing the wheel is necessary. Um,
they're
so
not
we're
making
looking
any more
at
land. They're not making any
they're
more land.
not
So
making any more land. You're absolutely
land
right.
appreciates
So
too.
yes. So we're looking Texas, Louisiana, Ohio, places where the it's easy to get in and doesn't cost
Yeah.
us an arm and a leg.
Right.
Yeah.
We were even thinking about doing a because we visited a tiny home community. It was Black owned, and they were also people that lived off the grid, as you said. They
Uh-huh.
drove around and they just happened across this this auto park with they
Wow.
like back in the days where truck drivers would stay.
Hmm.
So they got it on an off market deal for it was like I forgot how many acres, but it had like how many homes were there? Like 10 little
14.
bungalows.
There were 10 already existing, but originally there were 14 on the property.
Right.
Wow.
So what they did was the owners that had it, they had a house there and they wanted to sell. They wanted to get rid of it. They didn't want it anymore, but they kept seeing it. And then one day, I think they just asked about it. I think it had a for sale by owner sign or something in the yard.
Yeah.
But they got all of that, and it's some acres behind it. I don't remember how many acres, but it's a lot of land with a bunch of little houses on it, and they turned them into tiny homes.
Amazing. Amazing. I was actually interested for a couple of reasons. The Mississippi market.
Mm-hmm.
Um, one of our fellow members, he shared on an interview. I don't know if you were on that interview where his grandmother had passed, and she had owned several rental properties there, including a small business. And I recently went to see the Till movie,
Mm-hmm.
and that took place in Mississippi. I've personally been to Mississippi for a wedding. I visited Mega Evers, civil rights leader, his home museum. But one thing I noticed is that like there's still, if I recall, there's still like dirt roads down there, right?
Wow.
And it's still really, really old. Okay. You have some parts of that Mississippi that are being developed, but others are neglected. And that neighborhood where Mega Evers lived, there were single family detached homes, and a lot of them were run down. And I said,
Mm-hmm.
this neighborhood is gonna flourish again one day. It was very underdeveloped. And when you see underdeveloped, you see low purchase prices. So I haven't
Mm-hmm.
studied the market yet, but I'm very interested. I know it's a lot of farmland down there. The farmers that owned that land in the 60s, who knows where their family moved? They may move north. That land is maybe just sitting there empty. And one thing I know, population is going to continue to increase. You got to
Mm-hmm.
have places for people to live. So if you own land and if you follow the big money like Bill Gates, I think he's the largest landowner in the country right now.
Really? Wow.
Yes, he's the largest farmland owner in the country. So why are more millionaires are buying farmland? It's a reason for that.
Tax
Okay.
credits.
Tax credits, that's one, but upside potential. Like that's generational wealth. Like their great grandkids who inherit that. Well, guess what? We see farmland where we live at be redeveloped all the time. New townhomes, new condos. That's land from generations ago that's finally being sold. So look, just think at 60 years down the road, you know somebody's going to come and develop a new county or a new town or a new neighborhood. You just never
That's
know.
how, hey, that's how I felt about when my family's land on my mom's side was taken. I was like, are you serious? You mean 90 acres? I was like, we could have built a town off of that for ourselves. But
Yes.
it goes back to educating the children. Now they had it. They knew what they. It's weird how back then when they were during the time civil rights and all, they had land. A lot of black
Yes.
people had land, but
Absolutely.
the children had no idea of what they had because they it was an inheritance. But
Yeah.
somehow I believe it ended up on the tax lien or deed and it got taken away.
Wow.
Somebody paid it and that's that.
That's crazy. What state was that in?
It's in Virginia. Down in I don't know if you heard of South Boston or Danville area,
Yeah, I heard of Danville,
but
Virginia. Absolutely.
yeah, that's where my mom is from. And her grandfather had owned that land and he had set it aside for her father and I believe his sister or something like that. And I
Okay.
think it was one other sibling. But the other one of the siblings didn't have kids, and then the rest was like divvied down amongst my mom and her sisters and brothers. But they didn't know
Gotcha.
what to do with the land. I mean, because they weren't educated about it. That's how I feel. So
Absolutely.
And that's something that you find the further south you go,
Mm-hmm.
especially in Mississippi, because if you've been to Medgar Evers' home, then the last time I went there, the land across the street directly in front of him was empty. There was nothing there.
Right. I think that I saw that lot is still there like that, I
It's
believe.
still there.
Yeah.
So, if we look at those as opportunity zones, and you got it considering where it is, and because I'm from Texas, grew up partly in Texas, partly in Louisiana,
Mm-hmm.
there's lots of red tape, you
Gotcha.
know,
Yeah.
lots of red.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This was insightful. I'm looking forward to bringing you all back once complete your execution with this first property to hear what you ladies are going to be doing with it, whether it's Airbnb or Section 8. But this was great. You guys bought a excellent investment property in an excellent location. For the folks that don't know Baltimore, they purchased a property in between the Inner Harbor, which is a huge tourist attraction, and Johns Hopkins Hospital, which is one of the top 3 hospitals in the world. And they're sitting right on prime real estate. So I'm excited for you both. Thanks for
thanks.
spending almost an hour with us discussing your latest investment. And I look forward to hearing from you all soon. Sharita, again, congrats on that local government foreclosure.
Thanks, thanks,
Please
thanks.
continue to keep us posted on that and
Mm-hmm.
keep building wealth. Keep building wealth. Keep building freedom and wealth.
Indeed. Thank you for
This is
having
just a
us.
start. Thank you, Marcel.
Absolutely. Take care. Talk to you soon.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.